I've talked a lot about how to approach writing. I have not talked necessarily a lot about how writing helps you research and how research can be used to help you write. Let's talk about that. And while we're talking about that, we'll be talking about the overall paper because it relates. In a paper that you're writing, you will have an overall problem that you're stating. That's the thesis. The thesis is, here's what I'm trying to solve, right? Now, if you look at the liberal arts equivalent to that, it's what they call the theme. So you have an overall problem you're trying to solve, that's your thesis. Now, there's going to be a question related to that thesis. You have a statement. What are you trying to solve in there? That overall question in the liberal arts land is what they call a topic question. But that overall question is what's answered by your paper. So now what we're essentially doing is we're setting up the problem. Okay? The problem still needs to be defined. You think about it in mathematics, and they really, it was hard at the time, right? But you were given the equation at least, and just told to solve. Then later on, once you got used to that, you went to physics. In physics, they didn't give you the equation. They gave you the story, told you to find the equation and to solve it. But at least they gave you the story. When you get out into the workforce, they give you a fairly ill-defined problem and expect you to define it and solve it, whether you use equations or not. That's where this process comes in handy. So you have the overall, you have the thesis, the overall question, and then you start asking questions as you're researching things. Asking questions, answering those questions. Those answers maybe will lead to more questions, and as you're doing that, it directs your research. And it fills in gaps that you didn't even know you had until you started asking these questions and answering it. And overall, what it does is it defines the problem for you. In the process, you're actually writing the paper. As you're essentially solving a problem, you're researching, you are actually writing the paper in the end. All you have to do is really systematize the tools that you have in research and problem solving, and you'll be able to apply that to your writing. What's interesting is, I'm hoping that you see there's a tight connection between writing and research by what I just explained. But what's interesting is, a lot of times you're given as a motivation to write, as being that you need to learn to communicate. You may be brilliant, but who's going to know? You need to communicate that. Well, as true as that may be, it's not a strong motivation for engineers, especially with the amount of pain that they go through when writing. Normally, hopefully less with this method, right? But still, that's a motivation you're given, but it's not one that's close to home. I'm hoping that showing you this approach where you use your problem solving and research skills in your writing, that provides you a motivation that's close to home, because you can use it to define your problems, to solve your problems, to communicate your problems. It's just powerful in the end. If you want to find out more about the nuts and bolts of how this works, because it's not just organizing things, it's gluing it all together. So if you want to find out more about the nuts and bolts of gluing together paragraphs, helping things segue, all that kind of thing, come to my website, www.thescienceofwriting.com, and look for Get Some Class. Click on that, and I have a whole class that goes through that. Now, I will give you the caveat that right now it's a little dry. I'm working on that, making it more interesting, more exciting, less monotone, but all the information is there. And if you're desperate, especially, hey, it'll work for you. The information's there. If you have some suggestions about how to improve it, I would appreciate hearing that as well. Thanks.